Welcome to the One More Boom podcast, where we are a different breed. This is more than just a space for oil field and pipeline professionals. It's a community built for those who refuse to settle for the ordinary. You're here because you're ambitious, resilient, and driven to excel. At One More Boom, we're both more than just work. We're both thriving under pressure, breaking new ground, and pushing limits. This is your place to connect, learn, and grow with others who live for the challenge. You're not average, you're a different breed. Welcome to the One More Boom community.
Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome back to the One More Boom podcast. Nikki's out today, Shawn's in, and we got a wicked guest. I have been waiting to have this conversation with him online for some time. And to be honest with you, we actually wanted to start a podcast just of random conversations that we had, and we just never got around to it. So let's have those random conversations today, Matt. I'm at Trainor. I work with him overseas. And I actually work in UAE now. He stays in Saudi. But I want to have a conversation just about, I know what happened, but let's have, I know it's going to be rough, buddy, but let's have this conversation for the rest of the world, man. I really want to dig into it. I know a little bit about it. It's a story that's happened to, like, I don't even know what the percentages are. Do you know what the percentages are of divorce in the Alberta oil field?
Yeah. Okay. I heard once it was somebody once told me it was about 60%, but I really honestly have a hard time believing that. I believe it's a lot higher than
Really?
60%. Yeah, I really do. I mean, you bummed around the oil patch for how long? Right?
Well,
how many people do you know are divorced? How many people, honest to God, actually easier question, how many people do you know are still together?
that's a crazy question because it's man, I can't even think. Let's see. 1, 2.
Yeah.
I guess if we count, like,
one.
Wait. Are they happily married or are they still married? Like, there's a big,
It's a huge difference.
yeah. Are they staying together for the kids? I mean, I think I can think of like 2 off the top of my head. One for sure that is still happily married.
You're the only one I know. I have what I would consider part of my world, right?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Like,
which, I mean, we'll talk about this, but your world's gotten a lot smaller in the last few years. Yeah. Do you want to kind of, I don't know how you feel with this, but I'm a dig and I like to ask questions, you know that. So walk us through it, man. Like, what were you doing? Like, I know what we were doing together. We were working at a company called Stinger back in the day. We kind of both got into safety. You were more, you went to Firepower, right? Yeah, you're a manager at Firepower. We worked together there, obviously, when I was doing safety, and we were doing some firefighting up in Slave Lake when it burned down there, right?
Yeah, and then flooded, yeah.
Pistol Pete.
Good old Pistol Pete, I'll never forget.
We don't even get into that story because that's more of an offline kind of story. But yeah, we did that. So we would do Firepower. What were we doing up there? Tank cleanings? I can't remember.
We were doing, it was supplied air and safety watch for all those 400 barrels, all that stuff. And then we were doing the high angle rescue stuff too, because they had those propane bullets that they were cleaning out.
Yeah, that's right, man. That's right. Yeah, and then sorry, go ahead.
I was saying, then you and I left that turnaround and went to another place together. We stayed in that camp. I don't remember that afterwards. I remember the smoke detector was going off.
Ripped it with
a knife out.
Yeah, I do remember that.
Yeah.
That's a good time. Actually, every time I hear the Eminem, because I know, like, during that period of time, so whenever that was, I don't even remember the dates, but it was like,
that was 2011.
Jesus, we were steadily playing. It was like a playlist of, like, Eminem songs. Yeah. I love it.
The only reason I remember that is because, remember, they gave us a golf shirt, right? And on the sleeve, it had Penn West Turnaround 2010, but they crossed it out because it was a year late and put 2011 above the top of it. That's the only reason I remember that.
Oh, I love it. That's hilarious.
Yeah.
So it's 2011.
I still have the shirt, I think. Yeah, it was 2011.
Wait, is it the blue one? Is it the blue one with
the blue one? Yeah.
I still got mine. I just actually was going through the closet because Amy was like, listen, you need to get out of some of this stuff. Yeah. You try it on. If it doesn't fit, just get rid of it. And, I'm like,
I mean, how much of it honestly fits at this point?
that's another conversation for another time. Are you calling me fat?
As that is, well,
Yeah, I've got we definitely both gotten into the health and wellness sector since then. Put on a little weight, a little muscle, which is good. Pretty happy about it. We were just talking offline here. Matt just had arm day, and when you come onto Riverside here, it takes a picture of you, and it's a picture of him like this on the phone, and his arms are like this big. So it's pretty sweet. Anyway, it's all right.
all lighting and pump.
I mean, you can tell yourself whatever you want. You lie to your friends, I'll lie to mine. Yeah, so we did the firepower thing. So I know what you did afterwards, but walk us through it, man. So give us a little bit of your history after firepower. I know you managed that for a little bit, and then we kind of lost contact. I mean, we hung out a little bit here and there, but then tell us what more you did.
Yeah, because that was not long before you guys ended up moving to Sycamoose, I think. It wasn't too long after that. I honestly can't remember, because you've been, what, there 10 years?
Yeah, just over 10 years, yeah.
10 years, so it wouldn't be long after that. So after that, I started working for PTW. Well, I was Tarpon Energy at the time. I went there as a ground sort of deal. They needed a guy in burners, and I knew burners, so I started there. I did my apprenticeship. I became a Class A gas fitter, and then kind of worked my way up through the ranks there to management and became the field supervisor there. I guess where like life really started was we did that. I know I talked to you about it, but I did that CARE project. It was a 2-year project that kind of put me on the road for 2 solid years.
No days off.
That was the time period that led to the divorce, and that's how that progressed. Was, you're gone for 2 years straight, and even when you're home, you're project manager. You're not really home, right?
Yeah. So trying to provide.
I'm sorry.
Trying to provide for your family. You built a house, right?
Yeah. We built a house through that time, and then sold it and bought, her dream house, right? Like that was the, like every man tries to provide or tries to do. She wants the house and the cars and the life and all that stuff. So you do what you can to make it happen. So we did that, and then of course it's. Hey, anybody listening to this, or anybody that's been on this, or you guys, you know this, like it's, you feel like you have a sense of, you have a duty, that you have a family. At this point, we had two young girls, and it's like, okay, well, you want the life? I got to work. And it's that, everybody's seen the TikToks or whatever. Like, if you want my time, I can't give you time, because everybody needs my time. Family needs the time, work needs the time, kids need the time, wife needs the time. Everybody needs their time individually. But if I give you the money, then you don't have my time. If I don't give you this, if I can't give you the money and I give you time, well, now I can't give you the money. You know what I mean?
There goes that life
you're
you
trying
wanted.
to find that healthy balance. Yeah, exactly. Right. And it's unfortunately for me, because I am somewhat of a workaholic, and I, felt like I justified it. I guess the best way to put it. It's like, I'm doing this for you. I'm doing this for you. And that was always my mindset of, I'm doing this to keep the roof over the head, the food on the table. I'm sacrificing my time here with family so that you don't have to want for anything. At the end of the day, that most of us find out, is most of the time the family doesn't really care. We create this problem.
You think it's all in our head? You think it's?
I don't think it's all in. I don't think it's all in our head, because it is right in front of you, right? You see the house, the car, the bills, everything, and you have a sense of duty to take care of it, right? And like us as men, especially when we're naturally geared as fixers, we see a problem, we fix it. Plain and simple, right? We come up with solutions, we attack. This is what we're doing. So when you see stack of bills A come in, well, how can I fix that? That's a problem. These bills are a problem. I know how to fix that. I'm going to work, and I'm going to work my ass off so that this is no longer a problem. But the problem that comes in on that is now, okay, well, as the bills grow, your time decreases, your home time decreases, and your work time increases. This is okay. Now I need to make more. Oh, we're buying a bigger house. I need to make more. It's always more. Where the problem comes in is a lot of times when you are in a happy marriage, and you can attest to this, the money doesn't matter. It really doesn't. it matters in the sense of, okay, we need to pay for this, but you created that problem for yourself. Did you need that house? Do you need that new car? Do we need Netflix and Amazon and all this stuff? No, you don't.
Whatever.
So like the weird psychology of it in there is, and I know we've all done it. Every man has done this, where they come home and you sit on the deck and have a beer with me, and you're mad. I just got home. I just want to relax. I just want to have a beer and just leave me alone. You're mad. You're mad because your wife wants to spend time with you. How fucked up is that?
What's up, man? But
Right?
and we've talked about this before, Nick and I. Do you think there's like a little bit of ego in that? Like, as far as like, I did my time.
Yes.
Now I want my time. Like, I did my time for you. Now I want
100%.
my time. Yeah.
100%. Because, and that's the thing, is they don't see that. They look at it. You look at it as, this is what I just did for you. I just went out and I worked 12 hours, 15 hours, whatever it is. Busted my ass for you. And that's how we look at it. A lot of people look at it. And that's where you get into. And then you don't realize, like, you don't see that. You don't see that what you did at work. They don't understand. And they're not equipped to understand. They don't need to understand. Even if you try to make them understand, you don't need to do that. You put in your time so that you can provide for your family. That's your decision to do that. They didn't make you do that. Like, and don't get me wrong, there are relationships out there that go the other way where you are forced to do that stuff. I understand. But for the most part, that was your decision. You come home and like you're angry because the person, they just want to spend time with you. I hate this. I just want to relax. Why are you talking to me already? I just give me 5 minutes. I haven't seen you all day. It's like that. It's like the dog. You ever heard that analogy with it, like the dog?
Now let's hear it.
When you come in, when you come in the door, your dog's excited to see you. They don't understand time. They don't like I know women do. They don't understand. They're just happy to see you, and that's all they want. They just want to see you, so they come and run and jump all over you. Blah blah blah. Play with me, because you're the only thing that matters to them. Well, when you come home, right? Say you have a stay-at-home wife. She's taking care of 2 kids by herself all day, and you walk in through the door. They're just excited to see you, especially on the other side of it. They haven't just spoken to an adult all day, talking to kids. Yeah. Right? Like, you walk through the door, and they're, oh, you're home. Thank God. The person that I want to spend my time with is home, and you're a dick. 5 minutes. Just leave me alone. Why are you talking to me already? It's like, fuck, man. And it's the reason why I bring it up is because that's what right? I got in the mindset of, like, you're all over me already. Like, I just walked through the door. But then that turns into, okay, well, if I come home and I'm pissy, and she knows I'm coming home pissy, and then it's immediately fight already. So instead of when I walk through the door, it's, hey, how's your day, honey? How are you? Blah, blah, blah. No, it's, I need the garbage taken out. She's already mad before I even get, because I've set that precedent. She knows, because I'm coming home pissed off. Right? So then, of course, she already knows that it's going to be a battle as soon as I come home. So then, where's she? We're the same way. If you were sitting at home and you knew every day your wife came home from work, she's going to be in a bad mood. Well,
100%. Eventually, you're just going to be pissed, right? You're just like, why?
You're just going to be predetermined to. It's like, okay, it's 4:00. Wife's going to be home in about 15 minutes. Time to get my walls up. Time to get defensive. Time to get pissed off. And you don't even realize you're doing it. For the most part.
Did you guys ever have those conversations?
No. See, the problem for me, so this will lead into a good point. The problem for me is I was so emotionally immature. Ego. 100% ego. Because I was so fixated on I'm doing this. I'm providing this. I did this. Nobody gave me money. Nobody helped me. Nobody gave me a leg up. I came from nothing, blah, 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 and all that stuff. I got the house. I got the vacations. I got the cars, the clothes. I did this. So for me, I was stuck in that mindset of, I'm the man. Look what I did, right? But I was so emotionally immature that I was not equipped with the tools to even understand what was happening. I couldn't understand why when I came home, my wife wouldn't even get off the couch to say hi to me, not realizing that I created that, but we're not equipped for that. None of us are at that point, right? It's not until you, like, it's a big segue, but it's not until you do all things like the therapies and the self-learning and the awareness and all. It's not until you go through that do you understand that, holy shit, like, I did this. I created this world. So you've seen me now, but I am a very attentive person with my partner. I do everything because it makes me happy. I like doing the cooking and the cleaning, and I just take care of life because it makes me feel good, like I have value, right? And the problem with being geared that way is that as soon as somebody isn't aware of you as a person, that becomes an expectation. And once that becomes an expectation, now it's a chore. So if I say I did the dishes every day because I love doing the dishes, well, when the first day I don't do the dishes and you look at it as, okay, you're not doing your end of the deal anymore. This is a problem now. Now it's a fight. Now I'm mad because I expect you to do the dishes. Like, no, I did the dishes because I like doing the dishes. Now you're making it a job. Now I don't want to do it. You've ruined that for me. You know what I mean?
100%, man. Quickly, like, not that I want to interrupt you on this story quickly, but no, it's good. It's real good. So Matt introduced me to a book called The 5 Love Languages. Yes. Amazing book. If you haven't read it, read it. Read it with your partner. Can we just say wife or husband? Let's just say wife or husband. Read with your wife or your husband. Okay. And then at the end of the book, there's like this little exercise that you guys could do together. When Matt introduced me to that book, me and my wife went away for a weekend. We both had read it previous to the weekend, planned that way. And then we spent the weekend kind of going through the exercise of the book. And it was like one of the most eye-opening, best things that I have ever done, in probably one of the best things I've ever done in my marriage, honestly. So thank you for that, Matt, obviously. And if you guys haven't read it, check it out, read it. 5 Love Languages. Now, Matt, you've read it.
I can't remember what's her, Esther, I'm trying to remember the name of the writer.
I can't remember, but if you look at 5 Love Languages, you'll find it.
You'll know.
So in that spirit is one of your, let's hear what your love languages are.
My number one is physical touch, actually. And it's actually funny because it's slowly migrated. So my number one was physical touch from day one. And that's not like you have to, be intimate with me. No, it's just physical. It's just that calming sense of having my person with me, just, holding my hand. When you're driving,
slapping my ass, whatever.
They touch the, like that.
The back of your head.
Touch the back of your,
and they rub my beard.
Stuff like that. Exactly. Right. That's the big. But words of affirmation has slowly become an important one after my divorce. And that was a therapy thing that started that one. So like for me, those two are like my 1A, 1B. Is that
100%?
You know what I mean?
Can you explain to us what that is? Words of affirmation, just for folks who don't know.
So, okay, the best way that I can explain it, in all honesty, is anybody that's been to the gym, you have body dysmorphia, you have all that stuff, right? Like anybody that takes it seriously, you're down on yourself, you have skinny days, big days, all that stuff, blah, 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 blah. Exactly. Right?
Keep on, baby. Yeah.
Having that, it's not like terms of endearment. It's having that partner with you that gives you those action words that make you feel good. Do you know what I mean? Where like, and it's the little things. Like when my ex-wife would tell me, "Oh, you look good today," my immediate response is, "Fuck off! You're full shit." Right? Like I had such little value of myself that if she gave me a compliment, I didn't believe it. Like I was like, as if there's no way that you actually think that way. And the whole reason behind it was because I never got it. If you spend 15 years of being pulled the other way, that all of a sudden a compliment comes along, you don't believe it.
Yeah, you've been beaten down so long. Been beaten down so long, and then to just take a compliment's even hard.
Exactly. So now, having gone through a very long period of not having it, and then now meeting somebody now that is very attuned to that and understands it and gives it, it has slowly become a very important part of my psyche, essentially. It's turned into a point where it's not only given me value as a person, I actually feel better about myself. I'm in a better place. I have a partner that does recognize the fact that this is a big deal for me, which I didn't even know until she pointed it. But once we got to that point, it's like, oh, holy man, like this makes me feel good. I like hearing, the good morning text being good morning, handsome, like, anytime
my
a picture
beast
comes,
today.
whatever. 100%, right? Like there's now in my life, there's nothing better than waking up to good morning, handsome, and having the mindset of understanding that that's actually how she feels. It's not just a word in a text. It's, this is how I feel. I truly believe that you're handsome or good looking, or in my eyes, this is how I see you. And actually understanding that it's true, it slowly become my number one, which is weird because I never felt like I needed gratification from others' opinions, but having it from my partner I can't even explain what that means.
It's massive, man. I mean, like,
Somebody,
who
or to
doesn't like
myself.
to be told that you have bigger arms, or you look good
That's
today, or
correct.
please wear that shirt
Yeah,
again, or some version of that,
exactly.
man. Yeah. Yeah. So,
Massive.
sorry, let's get back to it. So, I think I interrupted you. Obviously, we go on a tangent, but the love languages, and the cool thing about the love languages is like what you end up finding out is like most of the time your wife or your husband or whoever, uh, their language is different than yours, and when you love them the way that you want to be loved, it doesn't get reciprocated the way it would if you were having that done to you. You need to learn their love language and do that accordingly. Love them the way that they want to be loved, which was a massive eye opener for me.
Huge.
Like, you don't want to be touched all the time because that's what I want. I want to be. That's how I love. That's how I want to be loved. You don't want to be loved like that. My wife's is quality time. She just wants to hang out. We could go shop for blinds. We could go for a walk. It's just quality time. It's just time. So that was a real eye opener for me, and a huge learning curve for me, which was, it's been amazing for our relationship.
See, and just for you yourself, understanding that like her love language is quality time. That's a good point from what I was saying earlier, where like your wife just wants to spend time with you. That's it. Like, and it's weird because like for us, we're just, oh, that makes no sense because it's not our love language.
That's right.
But you're getting mad because the person that loves you just wants to be in the same room with you.
And that's how they love you, because that's their love
And that's
language.
how they love you. Exactly. And so like it's a good point to bring up because like with my marriage, that was her number two. Her number one was acts of service.
Dishes.
And the problem with acts of service is acts of service runs a fine line between acts of service and servitude. And when you dote on somebody and become the fixture, all that stuff, you become a servant in your marriage. So then your love, your acceptance, your value, all that stuff hinges on the things that you do in order to please her. Do you know what I mean?
100%.
And that's
that's a problem.
so like, with every love language, there is a negative side to them. That's why it's so important to understand what your partners are and be able to speak to those and actually like know what you're doing. So for me, I didn't know that hers were acts of service until a long time. It was already too late because I became a servant through that marriage. And because that's the way I am, but not understanding that this is how somebody values the relationship. And then when I stopped doing those things, well, now I no longer have value. And that is where things obviously fall apart.
Yeah. Man, I like that you keep bringing up the fixer part of it, because one of the conversations that even I have is like when she gets home from work, it's like she'll start telling me like what happened with her day and, this and that and this girl and like the doctor this or whatever. And then I'm like, automatically as a fixer, as a male, I'm like, I got all these suggestions on how to fix that problem.
Yeah.
So what we started doing was like, do you
I love
need me
this.
to listen? Yeah, exactly. You know what I'm saying? Do you need me to listen or do you need me to help? Like, which one is it? Baby, I just
Is
need
this
you to
a
listen to me.
solutions conversation or a listening conversation?
Yeah, exactly. And that has changed. That's another quick little thing. And it's so easy to do. And that has changed the dynamic, right? So instead of me like listening to solve, I'm listening to listen,
Exactly.
which is massive.
Like you said, it's so easy. But it's something that none of us understood or understand until it's put that way. I didn't understand it until it was put that way to me. And you're sitting there going, holy fuck. Because it is, we are fixers. Men are just fixers, especially when you get patch guys, because you spend like it's been 23 years of me running around the oil patch solving problems. That's what patch people do. That's what you're relied on to do. If there's a problem, you fix it. And if you can't fix it, 9 times out of 10, you get back. So,
Yeah, exactly. Yes.
So, and you take that home. Your wife comes home. It does because look at it this way: the majority of your day is spent at work. So if you're spending 12 to 15 hours at work fixing problems, then you come home and you have your whatever, say 3 to 4 hours at nighttime with your wife, and she's presenting you with problems. Natural order is to fix those problems. 90% of the time, they don't want you to fix their problems. They just want you to listen.
Man, could you imagine?
Could
Could you imagine just starting to have those conversations at work? Like, whoever comes to you, right? And they're like, they start going off of, well, whatever. And you'd be like, is this a fixing? Or is this a solution conversation? Or is this a listening conversation?
Yeah.
Can you imagine?
Yeah.
I'm going to start it.
It'd be interesting. You should try it.
I'm going to try it. Why not?
I guarantee you're going to get, I need a solution. Or you're going to get, I need fucking solutions.
Yeah.
The fuck is wrong with you? Yeah, fix it, you fucking idiot. That's what I'm
100%, man. Yeah, it's going to happen.
Yeah.
Anyways, so things start to fall apart. Obviously, like, man, this is the reason why we want to do this podcast so often, is because we want to help all these guys or girls learn all these things before things take the end, right? Like, Nick, like the co-host, he went through a divorce. He went through a lot. He went to rehab, but not for drugs or alcohol or anything like that, just because he needed to learn and he needed time to, mostly his was ego. Same thing we were talking about is, you come home, you just want to have a beer with the guys, because I just did 3 weeks in the field for you. And obviously that's not the right way to look at it, but when you're younger and you don't know any better, that's kind of what happens, right? So I think it's super interesting and I like it. So I'll let you kind of continue with the story a little bit. And I'd love to hear more about like how you grew as a man.
Well, okay. So, when we hit the point where we're separating, separation is hard on everybody. It doesn't matter whether you're the initiator or the receiver. I don't care what anybody says. I don't care what happens in your marriage or who does what or what does. It doesn't matter. Divorce is hard for both parties, regardless. The only time it's not hard is if you've man, it takes a special kind of person not to care about that. Like for it to just skate it off, man, like you are special, because that's unreal. I've seen people on both ends of the spectrum go through it, and I don't care what anybody says. It's hard on you. For me, what I feel like doesn't get spoken about enough when it comes to people in divorce, and what I learned is your whole life is gone. Like that's it. Especially as I'm dancing around it because I don't want to be like, it's misogynistic and all that stuff or whatever. But as the man, especially if you're the male in the relationship or the father in the relationship that is still committed to that relationship or to your kids, I'm sorry, but the deadbeats out there that run away,
don't pay their
obviously it's different
child.
For them. Exactly. Right. But for the ones that are there committed, the kids, you want to be a part of the lives, all that stuff. What a lot of people don't understand or that they don't see is that's it. When that day happens, everything you've worked for, let's say for 20 years, the house, the money, the accounts, the blah, blah, everything that you put, everything that you have into all that blood, sweat, and tears, it's gone. Just like that. In an instant, it's gone. You're no longer welcome in your own home. That's a mind fuck right there.
Can't even imagine.
You're no longer allowed to see your kids. Like it's okay, you're allowed to see your kids every other weekend for 2 days out of a month. So you went from coming home to your family every day. That's it. You don't get to see your kids anymore. And that honestly, it doesn't get talked about enough with the how that impacts people. It's just to put it in perspective, when we got separated, I was a very unhealthy, about 190 pounds. By the time that everything had gone through and the divorce was finalized, I was about 140 pounds. So I'd lost 50 pounds inside of, it was about 8 months. And that's not I wasn't working out. Like, it's not like I was exercising or dieting or none of that stuff. That was just stress, flat out stress. You're essentially falling apart. With it comes panic attack. I didn't know what anxiety was because I've never had it. Like, I was 37 and I've never experienced, my ex-wife had anxiety. I was like, "Geez, fuck, what is the big deal? If this is a problem, and I would always just, yeah,
Sort
because
of
I was always
fixers.
like, whatever, right? Now, holy shit, the first time that I had anxiety, I thought I was having a goddamn heart attack. I was legitimately going to the hospital because I thought I was going to die. Your heart's racing, I was a full-on panic attack, and then you start freaking out and all this stuff, and you're laying in this one-bedroom apartment that you can barely afford by yourself, staring at the wall going, this is it. This is where I die. I'm going to die tonight. And lo and behold, it's just anxiety. So, but people don't understand that just because you're the male in the relationship, like whether you're the person that left or the person that, is doing the whatever leaving, it's like, man, you don't understand what that's like for us to just have your entire life shut down. Now, some of us that work overseas do get a little taste of that because once you leave, like when you go to work, like that's it. You're not a part of your life anymore. Right? It's not real in a sense because you know that when you come home, you're going back to your life, but your whole life does get put on pause. But to have that, that completely stripped down, man, like it's destroyed. I don't condone suicide. I was suicidal. I went through the whole thing. I understand because before I went through my divorce, I always looked at it as like, oh, you're weak. You can't deal. What's wrong with you? You take the easy way out, all that stuff. So I went through it. That was a nightmare because having everything ripped away from you, I understand now how guys get to that point and how they do it. It's like, thankfully, my ex-wife has been pretty good about things, and I get kids all the time. Like we're very amicable in a lot of the situations. There's fights, but there's fights with everybody. But to see some of the horror stories of what some of these guys have gone through, where they're just like not allowed their kids, you just rip their kids, where it's like, oh, I get my kids this weekend, and then you get that phone call. It's devastating.
Can't even imagine it, man. Honestly, like it's like you said, you can't imagine it until you've gone through it. So having all those feelings and all that feeling for the first time, maybe, right? How did you bring yourself up at all? Like, did you reach out? Was it like a parent? Was it a friend, brother, or sister?
No, so for me, when we were going through our separation, I had started seeing a therapist. And in the beginning, I was starting to see a therapist because I wanted to fix my marriage. And the whole idea was because I clearly had problems that I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't know what I was dealing with. I recognized the fact that there was a problem. I didn't know what it was. Our course of action was, I'm going to start therapy on my own. And then when we hit a certain point where we have a clear path and we were going to start doing therapy together, and it's couples therapy and progress from there. But I felt like I didn't have that baseline because I was bad. Like when we got separated, like I nosedived. Like, and I'll get into I'll get into things that lead up to the separation. But I tanked hard. Like it hit me so bad to the point where I was recluse. I didn't talk to anybody. Like I shut out the world. But I am self-destructive by nature, so it makes it. It was pretty easy to do. You know me. I don't really talk to people, so it's pretty easy to disappear for me. So I started therapy. I did that for about 6 months, and just going through that, like I laugh because when you go through therapy, the common joke about it is like, oh, they always want to talk about your relationship with your parents, blah, 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 right? Like it's like a gimmick. Everybody makes a joke about it. But in all honesty, when I went through it, there was some things that came out and some things that came to light where you don't realize that, yeah, my relationship with my dad was brutal. I didn't have one, right? Like my relationship with my mother was non-existent when I was a kid because they worked, right? So when you start to sit back and look back on your life and realize, I come from a family of blue-collar workers. That was my life growing up. That was accepted. So now
you're just doing what you were taught.
Worker.
Yeah.
in my 30s, not realizing that I'm not equipped to balance the work home life. Everybody needs time, attention. I'm not equipped with these tools. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm so focused on work because that's how I was brought up. You went to work. When I looked at my parents' dynamics, my mom went to work, my dad went to work. My dad came home from work. Mom came home from work. She did the dishes. She cooked the food. He sat on the couch and she brought him his dinner. He ate his dinner. Oh, do you need a beer? She brought him his beer. That was it. That man did not move, right? He was a man's man. My wife does that. That's wife work. Go do the laundry. That's how he was brought up. That's how he was. Now, on the same side of things, that's how my mom let that happen for a number of years until, side stories, she did finally was like, enough. Fuck you, motherfucker. Get off your ass. We're done. This is over. You're doing your shit now. So now they've gone down that road. But growing up, that's what I viewed it as. So without even realizing that that's how I am, I come home from work and I got this 5'2" fucking woman telling me what to do. Fuck you. No, that's your job. Do the dishes? No. Like, that's your job. You're here. I worked all day. So did I. Right? Like, it's just it's so bad.
It's that old school,
Well,
man. It's that old school, like, and most of them didn't work, right? Most of them didn't work. They was just like, they did the household. You take care of the household, I'll take care of the bills, that sort of thing. But it's crazy how it changed once they kind of, I won't say allowed, but once women were kind of more encouraged to go to work to create more taxes for the government.
So through therapy, I understood that it's you've probably even use this one. You have some people use pink and blue jobs, pink jobs, boy jobs, girl jobs, that stuff. Yeah. So when I was going through therapy, going through therapy and understanding, because she was my therapist is relationship, sex therapist, personal therapist. Like, she's got many degrees and certificates and all that stuff. Understanding that, hey, Matt, it sounds so cheesy, but your relationship is a partnership.
It's not cheesy about that, man. That's what it is.
Well, that's what it is. Like what I say is cheesy is because, like, this is just basic stuff that we don't understand, which is, it's almost sad. Yeah. Your relationship is a partnership. I can change a tire and you can't. I change the tire. You can do dishes and I suck at it. You do the dishes. It's not about you're doing this and I'm doing this. No. Those are your strengths. I'm a good cook. My girlfriend now is a terrible cook. I do the cooking because I want to eat good food.
Thank God for that.
It's not about, I have to do it. No, man, that's my strength. She's better at the decorating and the all that stuff. So that's what she does. Right? She works. She goes to work. She does her part. Sometimes tough here. Yeah, but like we all have strengths and weaknesses in a relationship. If it comes down to, like, okay, yes, women are generally better nurturing than men are. They're, better with the housework because honestly, they care a lot more for the most part. Like, my clean and my ex-wife's clean were two different things. And I'm a very clean person, but I clean, she deep cleans, right? So that was her strength, which worked. But I'll tell you what, if I'm the person that's expected to get up and find out what that noise is at 3:00 in the morning when somebody's trying to break in the house, then you can do your share too. That's my strength. And that's what I bring to the relationship. So if that's my strength, then what are your strengths? And if you have strengths, then we'll play to them. But just because you can't cook doesn't mean it's not like, we don't eat. Well, she can't cook, this bitch, right? Oh, man, she can cook and she can't. There you go. But learning through therapy that it's a partnership, not who does what, not, and to use that against each other. I did the dishes last night.
Guys, those scorecards.
There's no scorecards. Nobody wins. And it's how many times have you had that conversation with people where how many times have you sat down at a table playing cards, drinking with couples or friends or whatever, and that shit comes out? Oh, well, I took the kids this morning. Do you want a medal? Do you want a cookie? It's your job. It's everybody's job. So, and if it's a problem, I'll take the kids.
Or let's have a conversation about it. Let's figure something out.
What do we got to do?
Yeah.
If it's serious enough for you to bring up, and that was one of the big things. If it's serious enough for you to bring up, obviously it's a problem. If it's a problem, you're not talking to me about it because I didn't know it was a problem. Yeah. Communication, man. I have found that 90% of the problems in your relationship aren't problems. They never needed to be problems. They're only problems because you made them problems. Because 6 months ago when it happened, you didn't say anything. Yeah. So when I fell apart and I started going to therapy and understanding that not only do I hold value in my relationship, but I'm necessary, because I don't know if you've ever felt like you're just floating, like you're just there. Like,
Man,
especially when you're
yes.
overseas,
Yeah, you come home, you interrupt, you don't know what's going on.
you're tipping over the apple cart, and you feel non-existent, like underappreciated, like you have no value, and that's hard. That's really, really hard. And then match that with, okay, well, I already feel this way. Now you've kicked me out of the house. I'm living on my own now, and I have zero value. I'm an ATM at this point. That's literally it. The only value that I hold in my family or ex-family, however you want to put that, is the money that I send you now. And that's literally it, because I don't see the kids. I'm no longer fixing the problems that I always fix. I'm no longer taking care of that house that I've always taken care of. I'm not doing, I literally went from having my plate full and having a complete, full, fulfilling life overnight. And that's like, there is nothing more resoundingly painful than that one right there, in my opinion, for me. So for me, I hit complete and utter rock bottom. I started drinking, which I've never really been a big drinker.
Yeah.
I've always been a long-term addict, but I've never been addicted to anything. I just know that I'm an addict, and I've done well enough to stay away from certain things and be in control, because I'm a very big control guy. When this all went down, I had no control. It's gone. You just feel worthless. Start drinking, and it was bad. Drinking and driving, fucking hungover at work constantly, almost losing your job, fucking gambling like crazy, like anything that I could get some momentary satisfaction, I would do it.
Get that dopamine
Like,
hit.
and thankfully, I'm thankful I never turned to drugs. Drugs has never been a thing for me, which thank God I didn't. Like, I've never done, cocaine, probably, and then that would be it. Thanks, Vegeta. So I am fortunate in that regard, but it was 100% pure rock bottom. And to be perfectly honest with you, like, if I didn't continue to go through therapy, then like, she's the only reason that I'm probably still standing today. In the beginning, about I want to say it was about 6 months after my separation. That's when you and I reconnected, because we hadn't talked in quite a long time. And it was the small conversations with you that really started to turn things around, because, like, in all honesty, I didn't have anybody. I didn't have anybody to talk to. I had nowhere to go. It's like, you have your parents, but your parents don't, they're your parents. They're emotionally invested on one sense, right? So they're only thinking about you, and we need you to be better with it. They care and all that stuff, but they don't understand, right? So it was conversations actually with you that started my turnaround. So
Shivers.
thank you for that.
Shit, man. Thanks.
I know it, a lot of people say it, but it was in the beginning, because this was about 4 years ago. It was your Instagram, the workouts, the diets, the everything, and then the conversations between each other. And then, because you and I worked out together like 20 years ago, and you just kept doing it. I just remember that conversation.
I literally remember we were doing flies, and you're like, so when are you gonna win? It was like, I don't think you win this one. You're like, I don't know if I want to keep doing it if I could never win.
What's the end game?
What's the end game? Like, what? I mean, when's enough?
Yeah.
I guess when you conquer the
When's
whole
enough?
gym.
How much is enough?
When you get to the end of that rock, there's no more dumbbells left, and you crack every single weight out. Yeah. I guess that's it.
Yeah,
I'm yet to get there.
Yeah, me too. I'm not even close. Yeah. So, like, but watching you go through that stuff, that was, I was searching for a purpose in life, because I didn't have one. It's funny because you have two kids, right? And I do. And I have these two girls that are just absolutely amazing. And to sit there and have zero cognitive awareness of what your actions are doing to them or could do to them. or what your actions will lead to their lives is one of the most hurtful things in my own mentality. Like sitting there contemplating ending my life, not thinking about what this is going to do to my daughter. It's, it's a crazy, crazy thought. You have zero thought process when it comes to how this impacts everybody else in life. And like, you can talk about ex-wife level, friends, all that stuff, but your daughters, your own daughters, I didn't care. Like it's one of the most selfish, unrealistic thoughts to ever have, but it's so true. You just don't care because you have no value. You have no purpose. You have nowhere to go. Like, yeah, you have a job, but like the only reason you work up now is to pay for the child support that you now have to pay. Right? And you're just like, I didn't want to be down this road in the first place, but now you're forced into this situation and you don't care. And it is one of the scariest things to have for any person to not care. Again, truly not care what happens. It's terrifying. And so when I see people that are down that road, or I know a lot of people is that, they cry for the cries for help of, oh, I'm going to kill myself. You're not. If you were, you would have told me, right? It's like, okay, you have a problem. You need help. I'm here for you. What do you need? Let's talk about this. You're not going to kill yourself. The people that do it, you'd never know. Just to prove a point, when I was going through that, did you know?
No, of course not.
Because I didn't say anything. And I wouldn't. But when you sit down and talk to somebody and you hear those, especially now knowing what I know from my own personal experience, when you hear those markers of like, this person doesn't care, they don't care anymore. It is terrifying because you have no idea what that person has gone through in their head. You have no idea the thoughts that are there, the demons, nightmare for people. And you can hear it. You'll pick up markers. And so for me personally, like I was at that point where I just didn't give a shit. I didn't give a shit if my truck veered off the road into a pole. Couldn't care less. I had zero value. So for me, through therapy and friends and all that stuff, I had to find value in myself again because I lost it. And it was terrifying. And it was honestly the fear of how much I didn't give a shit is what drove me into, I need a purpose. And I don't know if you remember, but I still do it to this day, where you wake up every morning and you need a reason. Why am I awake today? What's your reason for being here today? Why am I up? Why am I starting my day? And it could be so simple. Well, I got to go to the gym. Oh, okay. Yeah, that's my reason for getting up. I'm hungry. Right. I got to eat. Okay, I got to eat. So I get up and I start my day. You need a reason, and that could be your daughters, your friends, your family, your loved ones, job, whatever it is, but you need to have a reason to get up every day, because if you didn't have a reason to get up in the morning, that's when things
A little downhill. So did you get into like the journaling, that sort of thing?
Yes.
When you
Yeah, so
started
for me,
to write those things down and then read them later, was that something that really helped things click for you?
so for me, because I'm a visual, hands-on learner of things, like you can tell me 1,000 times and I'll never get it, but if you put it in my hands, I'll solve it pretty fast. So for me, that's where that's why I started the journal, was because I needed something tangible that I had in my hands. I wrote this, I could read this, I could go back to it, I could refer to it, because memory sucks and you forget shit constantly, right?
We get old.
So when I started, what I would do for a long period of time is, you'd have a month, 30 days of where you wrote, and you go back to, let's say, day one, April 1st, and you read that day. And then you pick up pages, and you could literally watch your psyche starting to change as the month goes on, as the weeks go on. Now, don't get me wrong, you have ups and downs, and you go back and forth all the time. There's good days, bad days. Everybody has them, whether you're in a bad place or not. We all do. But watching that progression in the beginning, and then as the months go on, understanding that, okay, I'm getting better. I'm not good. The writings aren't as dark as they used to. And for me personally, what I would do is every day I would write down my reason for the day. This is my reason today. This is what I need to focus on. This is why I'm up. This is why I'm at it. This is why I'm here today. Okay, but how am I feeling for the rest of it? How am I feeling about that reason? What has that reason done for me? And I would just write, and it was all day. Like every now and then you have a thought, I'd pull up my journal, I start writing. So like it's not like you have to get up, and for me anyways, it's not like I just got up and started scribbling in my journal. It was all day. It was constantly. It was always fluid. At 6 o'clock in the morning, when I got up and started my reason for the day, I would start writing. By 3 o'clock, I'd be a completely different person, and by 8 o'clock that night, I'd be back to the way that I was before. I'd be even worse. Right? But for me, seeing the change throughout my life and my days, and having those talking points to come back and refer to later was huge, because at least it gave me, I don't want to say sense of purpose, but it gave me almost a gauge, I guess, of, okay, that's where you were. This is where we are today. These aren't as dark as they used to be. They're not as bad as they used to be. And we could gauge that until the point where it's like, okay, they're starting to get light. I'm starting to have more happy thoughts, happiness, finding more positive reasons to be, for lack of better terms, walking the earth. The journal was one of the, I would say, honest to God, like personally, mentally, it was one of the biggest things that impacted my life. And I still have them, even to this day. So this has been 4 years. I still have them. I still write. So I still go back to those ones, because like, as painful as it might be and as dark as it might be, sometimes we need that reminder of, that's where you were. So, okay, things might not be okay today, and you might be having a little bit of a rough time. Remember how they used to be? Think about all the things that we have to be grateful for. It's no different than taking that very first picture before you started the gym. Sometimes we need to go back and look at that one. It's like, okay,
Perspective, baby.
the guy that I'm looking at the mirror today ate that guy. So when you look at it mentally, why can't we do the same thing? It's a snapshot of that time period in your life. Well, mentally, I destroyed that person. I became a better person for it. The biggest one for me, and like, it's going to get a little dark, but the journal helped me with the suicide thing, because I tried many times to end my life. And the worst part about it is, when you fail at that, it makes you even worse, because now you not only have failed at life, but now you failed at ending life. Now you're just complete failure. And it's such a, man, it was bad. Sitting there going, I can't even, like, I couldn't get through life, and now I'm trying to end my life, and I couldn't even do that. And it's not because like, oh, I wimped out or whatever. It's because like, tried to hang myself once, the goddamn tree. And you're just like, are you fucking serious? Like, I can't win. You know what I mean? So like, having that on paper, and reading the mindset of where I was that night and what I went through, and because I'll show it to them. People that are suicidal are not suicidal 24 hours. They're not. They're suicidal at moments in their life. Things spiral out of control. Something happens. They get to that place because the precursors are there. You're depressed. You're unhappy. Whatever your cursors are. Suicidal people are not suicidal 24 hours a day. There's a series of events that will happen that will lead them to a moment, a thought process where I can't do this anymore. So if you can get through that moment, which was a struggle for me for a long time, but to go back and read the psychology of that moment that I was going through was what also helped me to identify the markers that were going through that day, to understand it's like, you're heading to a bad place. We need to change courses. We need to do something. We need to upset or tip the apple cart, for lack of better analogies. I don't know. But having that on paper was one of the biggest tools that I had, because at least it's like, okay, through learning the last 6 months of going through this, now I know, okay, when I start feeling that way, I know where I'm heading. I know where my mentality is going. If I know what I need to do, I need to stop with this thought process. If anybody is an overthinker, then you know right away, like, you can see it coming, you overthink it. And the worst part is, you're either going to use that as a positive or a negative. And most of us use it as a negative because it's so easy to be negative. So when you see those precursors coming, or those markers coming, to be able to flip that somehow, it's not easy. But if you can, it'll start leading you down a completely different path than what it was. And that was one of the biggest tools that I had, was just being able to read that stuff, understand myself, know where I'm heading, and be able to kind of like, you put it best once when you were talking about your kids. All our job is to keep them in between the lines. Right. Well, when you're dealing with this stuff for yourself, that's literally just to go best you can do. Nobody expects you to be perfect, but just to It's just to keep you in between the lines, right?
Yeah.
We're not slipping into the ditches here. It's like, just, okay, you're going a little bit, just a little, you know, just a little, there you go. You're back on track. All right. The other one that, the second biggest tool was you having me get my testosterone checked. And this is going to come full circle, but when I finally got my testosterone check, as you know, I had the testosterone like a 75-year-old man at the age of 37. I was damn near completely depleted. And whatever that was, genetics, stress, like who knows, whatever it was that got me to that point. But understanding now that for that time period leading up to my separation, going through my divorce, all that stuff, when my mentality is doing this constantly, because I'm getting these tiny little testosterone dumps in the middle of the month and then fucking crashing and then crashing. So my ex-wife would always say, I never know who I get. 1 week, you're like the happiest guy in the world. And then for 2 weeks, you're miserable and I can't stand you. Well, doing this constantly.
Yeah.
I had no idea.
That has to
All
do with
those low
diet
points,
and
all the
stress. There's so much.
so bad. Eating bad, stressed out, low tests, like it was bad. When I started on TRT, it was almost a night and day difference in my mentality. And I could speak to it in not the sense of, all of a sudden I'm taking this miracle drug that I know I'm perfect. No, it fueled everything. Because like I started on TRT, within about a week, I felt better. I just felt better. Like my mentality, I was more awake. It was almost like a fog had been cleared. Like I just felt better. It was crazy. Part of that could have been placebo effect. Part of that was the testosterone. But then once I started on it, you're like, well, I'm on testosterone. I should probably start working out. And then I got into the gym. And then I started taking that seriously. And then I started taking my diet seriously. And it was just a domino effect that just kept building and building and building and building until all of a sudden you start seeing some results. Not so bad. You start putting on some weight, you start looking healthier, you start getting compliments all of a sudden. Like, that's not so bad. That made me feel good, right? Yeah. Maybe life isn't so bad. Well, what more could I do? So then you start on this, I don't want to say extreme, but this path of health and wellness that completely turned my life around. Point of, like, I still have down days, but am I depressed? No. I haven't felt depressed in years. Do I struggle days? Who doesn't? Am I perfect? Fuck. But I'm not suicidal anymore. I haven't been in years. I haven't had those thoughts. I haven't worried about my mental state for a long time. And the other side of it was I met somebody that has made my life better. You know, having a partner that understands you, reacts to you, respects you, knows you as a person. That like I could talk for hours about that. But it is like for me, my journey from basically wanting to end my life to where I sit today, all legitimately started from reconnecting with you and going down the health and wellness path. I still talk to my therapist once a month just to check in and make sure things are okay and have that safe place to talk to and somebody that's not a part of my life, that's not emotionally involved or has an ulterior motive. Because I think everybody needs that. But honest to God, I would be very remiss to say that the gym did not save my life. Because if it wasn't for that, I honestly don't think that I would be here today, where I sit, especially where I am.
So in saying all that stuff, man, like there's a lot, and it's deep.
Yeah, sorry.
No, it's so good. I think that like it's cool that you can share your story, and I really, really appreciate it. Do you have suggestions, being from where you are, where you were, sorry, to where you are? Do you have suggestions? Is there like a game plan that you would think about putting together? Is there like a I know, and we're all individuals, so that's the other part, right? But
yeah,
but I mean, for me, this is from the outside looking in. Is I think the very first step would be get someone to talk to that's not emotionally involved, that's outside your circle, it doesn't know all the parties. I think that's like one of the best things.
There's no org chart that you can put together for one person. You just can't. Nobody fits in every mold or whatever. But from people that I've talked to, some people that I've helped with, some dark times, people that have reached out to me, there is one constant, and that's communication. Now, there is, in my opinion, whether you're talking about, marriage, mentality, it doesn't matter. All aspects of life. I'll break down this way. In your marriage, there is legitimately, and I mean legitimately, no issue that can't be resolved through communication. Now, people will argue that point. It's like, my wife was sleeping with stovepiping 5 dudes. Okay, fair enough. That's pretty hard to talk through. Before that happened, there were problems, because people don't just do that stuff. There were problems that you guys did not talk about that led to that. So you can argue with it. Everybody can argue with me all you want. I'm telling you, there is no issue that cannot be solved with communication. The problem that people have, or that we have as humans, is we're not equipped with the tools to be able to communicate about that stuff. Half the time, we don't even know there's an issue until it's an issue. Right. That's why, like you said, it's so important for us to communicate or speak to professionals, because we are not professionals. And people can shit on psychologists all they want, man. I'm telling you, they are trained professionals that are equipped with the tools and the knowledge to give to you so that you can use those to help your life.
And then it's up to you to use them. Yeah, exactly.
It's up to you to
use them. It's up to you to use them, 100%.
So how is it any different running a company? You have tools at your disposal to make your job better. Well, if you're looking at a relationship, there are tools at your disposal to help you. If you choose not to use them, it's on you. So yeah, like communication, having a professional to speak to is massive. Like if you're struggling, anybody that's struggling out there, and you don't understand why, talk to a professional, man. Even just a half an hour a month can change your life. And they'll help. Like, how many times have you had these, especially now knowing where you are, how many times have you had these conversations with your wife now that 20 years ago you never would have?
And I don't know if I didn't care enough. I loved her. I still love her. And I don't think it's that I didn't care enough, but I just didn't know.
You don't know. That's how I feel. Like we're not equipped for that. Now, having gone through it, the beautiful thing is, like, when I move into the relationship that I'm in now, having gone through all that stuff for that time period, I am equipped with the tools to have those conversations. I can have the conversation. I'm not afraid of the conversation either. That was one of the biggest things in my marriage, was even if I wanted to have it, I was afraid of it. I didn't want to have it. It's a lot easier just to sweep it under the rug. Or if some people out there will understand this, if you're with a partner that takes, when I come to you, let's say, Shawn, I come to you with a problem where I say, you know what? When you say this, it does not make me feel good. And this is how it affects me. Well, when that person or yourself takes that as me attacking you, because you don't understand what's going on in this moment, that it's not a personal attack, but you take it as a personal attack. Well, now the next time I have a problem, I don't want to have that conversation with you anymore. Because if we have that conversation, it's going to turn into my fault. And I'm going to be the asshole in this. And I don't want that. So then we just let it fester and build. And then to the point where, okay, that little thing that kind of bothered me that you do, well, now it's huge. And now I fucking hate you for it. And I resent you for it. And every time you do it, it just eats at me. A simple conversation 2 years ago, say it solved that. But we don't do it.
There's part of the human psychology, I think it is, man, and we all do it as humans until I think you kind of learn not to do it. It's that if I come to you with a problem is that people get defensive. They want to defend their actions at all times. I said it because of this, like, it's not my fault, or some version of that. Instead of listening to how you feel, or that other person feels, validating it, which is super important, and then having the conversation about it. So instead of be defensive, have the conversation, validate how they're feeling, because it's important how they're feeling, listen, and then have the conversation without being defensive. Because it's not about you at that point. It's not about you at that point. It's about them. Yeah,
exactly. And it goes both ways.
100%. Of course it does. It's got it.
I don't really have a good example. Like when I was married, like my ex-wife would hate it when I was sitting on the couch and I left my socks on the floor. But it wasn't like a simple conversation. Hey, just so you know, like I spent the whole day cleaning the house and then you come in and do that. Like it bugs me. That's a conversation. Walking in and screaming at somebody because their socks are on the floor at the time, you don't understand what the fuck is your problem? Well, that's been a problem for 5 years. She just didn't say anything. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And you're just like, man, like that's why I say like, having these conversations and just talk like it's just the smallest thing. I hate it when I don't know. I don't really have a good example. Sorry. You know what? When somebody uses the jam and then puts it in the peanut butter, and then now I got jam in my peanut butter and peanut butter in my jam in the jar, that's fucking annoying.
But wait a second here. The peanut butter and the jam's going in the same place.
I know, but not in the jar.
But it's going like eventually, like if you have some jam in the peanut butter and peanut butter in the jam, like if you just scoop that out and put it on the bread, because it's all going to the bread.
I understand that. But what if I like want to just enjoy some peanut butter and I don't want the jam, but now I got jam in my peanut butter?
How often does that happen? They use peanut butter with
In my household? All the time. I don't eat jam. Jam is
You know what's super cool about this conversation?
I don't eat jam.
Is I literally had this with my family the other day, and it was like, it was almost, it was funny. I'm not talking about the peanut butter jam thing, but what really drives me crazy is like my family will just toss boxes into the garage right beside the recycling bin, right beside it. They gotta get crunched up and put in you just have to move them, and so they go into the bin. Right? So I come into the kitchen.
Exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah, I come into the kitchen. And I'm like, hey, I'd really appreciate it if you guys would just not toss the boxes into the garage, but if you could just take the time to make them so they're flat, they go in there, because when I go to take the recycling out on Thursdays, I have to do that. And most of the time, not all the time, but I generally do it because they're here early in the morning. I get up and go to the gym and all those things anyways, but then I have to do all this work right before the recycling guy gets here.
Yeah.
My daughter,
2 seconds.
yeah, but my daughter pipes up. She's like, yeah, you're right, Dad. She's like, I really appreciate it if you wouldn't leave your little Zen things all over the counter after you're done with them.
Like used?
Yeah. I was there for a second because I'm like, I'm going to have something to eat or something. I'm just like, and then sometimes like they go on top of my Zen pack, like my little, I put them on top of there.
Okay.
But they're still out on the counter. And I don't, all right. Yeah, I could do that.
She's got a point.
My wife
Well, point.
pipes it. I also really appreciate it if you wouldn't leave your gym bag on the dining room table when you get home from the gym. Once again, very valid point. You're right. It doesn't belong there. So what I'm saying about this is like, when you're going to have these conversations, be prepared to have more conversations.
100%.
Yeah.
You're not infallible.
Yeah. Honestly, it was great because I was like, oh, I guess I do that. For me, I'm like, what's the problem if I leave my gym bag on that table?
100%.
But when you're talking about it, it's like, well, she's like, well, doesn't that go on the bottom of your trunk, like where I rip on my feet? I suppose it does. And then you want to put it on the table when we eat our dinner? Gross.
Yeah.
My bad.
And that's honest to God, that's perfect, because that is the simple dynamic of 3 different views of 3 different things that we just don't see. And that's why it's so important to communicate this stuff when it arrives and not 5 years from now when I hate you for it, because it's a simple conversation. You can even have a laugh about it. It's funny. It's like, oh shit, you know what? I didn't realize I did that. Thank you. Yeah, I'll stop doing that. Yeah. It's over. It's not, fuck you.
No, I just do it to
hate you.
To harass.
No, I do it to piss you off because you're a dick. It's a simple conversation, but that is perfect because you have 3 people, 3 different perspectives, looking at 3 different issues at the same time, going, well, this bothered me, might not bother this person, but a simple conversation. Okay, I didn't know you didn't like when I did that. And that's not a problem. Not a problem at all. I'll stop. I have this really disgusting habit of chewing my nails and then picking my teeth with it. It's probably my most disgusting habit.
I don't even want to know about that.
I I know. I use it as a toothpick, and I
That's
stopped now.
disgusting. Thank God.
I know it's fucking gross, but they're just like homegrown toothpicks. It's like perfect.
They're not.
Right? I never had
They're
my
full,
toothpicks.
they're full of bacteria.
I know it's fucking gross. No, like I mean that's not the worst thing I put in my mouth every day. Well, let's be real here. So like this is what I would do. And Jordan just looks at me one day. She's like, "Do you have any idea how fucking disgusting that is?" And honest to God, I didn't even realize I was doing it most of the time. I just did it. It's just a habit that formed at some point, and that's what it was. And she just looked at me. She's like, "Really, really find that disgusting." What disgusting? That. And she just points at me and was like, and I got it. And I'm like, okay, no problem. I can easily, I can stop that. Oh, whatever.
And how you
So
doing
I have
today?
flossers, and I use those instead.
Yeah.
In what regard?
I mean, using your nails for toothpicks. Scott,
I'm doing good. Much better. Yeah,
yeah,
much better.
I'm happy to.
But like, I mean, it's one of those things that you form a habit. You don't even know you're doing it. It drives your partner crazy. But if they don't tell you,
You don't know.
that could very easily, in 2 years, turn into an epic fight because they fucking resent you over it. And I know that this is just these are just small, little
Trivial.
nuances in a relationship. But all of these things compounded over 4, 5, 10, 15 years of never having those conversations, that's where resentment gets built. And that's where problems start. You don't even know what's happening. That's why I truly believe there is not a problem in a relationship that cannot be solved with communication. Because everything that gets to the point of those resentment moments where now I hate you and we're going to fight constantly over this, I guarantee you at some point in the past, there was a simple conversation that could have happened that could have avoided all of that. And unfortunately, what happens a lot of the time is we leave it for so long to the point where, yes, now communication's and that's too bad. But at that point, it's most likely relationships are the which sucks. But I've learned that if you are one of these people, and if you like, I honestly I don't care who you are at this point. If you're anybody over the age of 30, you should be on TRT and you should have a therapist. Keep the life.
Get your vitamin levels checked.
Blood work, all that stuff. Like it leads into a lot of stuff, but at very minimum, you should, these are the two things that can, in my opinion, can do a lot of good for you. It's a how do you put it? It's a launching point to starting a self-realization path, for lack of better terms. If you and I have had this conversation how many times? When we were 20, when we were 30, when we were 40 and progressing towards 50, those are 3 different men.
Oh.
Not even close to the same person, especially when you look at it as me. So I turned 41 in a week. 41-year-old Matt to 20-year-old Matt, I would have kicked his ass. She was not a good person. Right? I am nowhere close to who I was at 30, 35. Every day you're constantly evolving and changing. What I see with some friends and family members and stuff like that, when you get to that point where when you become stagnant and there's no longer self-improvement, self-awareness, self-help, any of that stuff going on, it's a bad mix and it's leading towards disaster. Like, no, that's not to say everybody. Some people they'll just skate through life just like that. And that's fine. Other people will do this. That's when relationships start falling apart. That's when jobs get lost. That's when addiction starts, all that stuff. In my opinion.
Are you sure? All right. Well, Matt, I thank you so much, Matt, for coming on. For like triple the time we normally do. But there's just so much. No, it's all good. There's so much value there. My hope is that what you said today could potentially help someone down the road. I know there's a lot of guys like us that work away. Divorces still happen today. There is a light at the end of the tunnel. There are people that are out there to help. There's piles of resources, so please reach out. You can reach out to me, you can reach out to Nick. I'm sure Matt would even, can reach out to Matt.
Oh, I'm
be happy to help anything we do, even if you just need someone to talk to. So, quick takeaways: communication is key, and there's still a path at the end of it. There's still a light at the end of the path. Thanks for coming on, Matt.
Life can be amazing.
Yeah, absolutely, Matt.
No problem.
I love you.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah. Talk soon.
That's it for today's episode of One More Boom Podcast. Remember, you're part of a community that doesn't settle for the status quo. Here, we push boundaries, support each other, and thrive under pressure. Whether you're out in the field or leveling up your career, we've got your back. Stay connected, stay driven, and keep embodying the grit of a different breed. Until next time, keep pushing forward. Together, we'll achieve more. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you on the next episode of One More Boom.